Hello, and welcome to another episode of Insights. My name is Bill Russell. I'm a former CIO for a 16-hospital system and creator of This Week in Health IT, a channel dedicated to keeping health IT staff current and engaged. Our hope is that these episodes serve as a resource for the advancement of your career and the continued success of your team. Now, on to the show.
Today on Insights, we go back to a conversation host Bill Russell had with Charles Boicey, the Chief Innovation Officer at Clearsense. The topic of discussion was overseas resources and cloud strategy. And Bill asks Charles, what are some of the considerations for outsourcing overseas? And what exactly is a cloud strategy?
Let's talk a little bit about overseas and working with overseas resources. So, you have some experience there. I have some experience there. Let's start with, what are some of the considerations when health systems outsource overseas?
Sure. So you have to have, some representation in the States. You have to, really understand, what that workforce looks like. What were the universities that workforce came out of, which is essential. And you can outsource to Ukraine, you can outsource to, Spain, Dominican Republic. My outsourcing, country of choice, as you know, is India. And it's not, as most people think, because of the cost perspective, and there absolutely is cost savings. It's the fact that it is very, very difficult to get into those top-notch schools. It takes pretty much, from a very young age to get into those. That is your goal. You've gotten into those schools, and as a result, you're a hot commodity. And those are the folks that I go after. I know those universities. I recruit from those universities, and as a result, I have the best of the best from a architecture perspective all the way down to hands-on coding.
It sounds like you're pretty hands-on. I mean, you are actually recruiting these people. Do you spend time in India as well?
Well, I used to up until, what's going on now, where I go, at least 3 times a year, if not 4. I've had a team since 2007. So this has been, 13 years for me with, excellent results and success. We're on Zoom right now. So, you've got a whole bunch of technology that assists in that. From a monitoring perspective, cost savings perspective, 24/7 monitoring, I have, done in India. Development, absolutely. Depending on the organization, there may be some restrictions on what they're able to, be involved with as far as, data access and whatnot, but that can be mitigated as well with de-identified, obfuscated data sets and so forth.
It's interesting because a lot of CIOs, like I was challenged with follow the sun support, essentially 7x24 coverage, because the hospital never closes. So you could either try to do that in the States, which is extremely hard, or you could literally get 7x24 with just the States and India for the most part.
It's not somebody looking at, Zabbix or Grafana or some of these monitoring the software. It's actually people in there, doing maintenance as well. So if you think about what your networking team, what your engineering team are doing during the 40 hours that they're working, and now you can extend that to additional 40 in those off hours, and your systems are pretty much maintained. And kind of going back to that, bringing in that hyperconvergence and so forth, and software defined networks and the rest of it. Yes, it's a higher skill set, but it takes less people to maintain that, as long as they're at that skill set level.
Yeah. I want to be clear. We're not recommending that organizations do this, although we have both done it. What is a cloud strategy?
Yeah. What is a cloud strategy? So I'll give you my definition of it. It's not a choice. And what I mean by that is you have your own on-prem cloud. You could have a private cloud located somewhere else, in a co-located environment. You've got Google, you've got Azure, you've got AWS. The whole ecosystem is a cloud. Does that make sense to you? You're not making a choice. You're in a cloud environment now, whether you know it or not. And because of how we are doing things now from an API perspective, if I want to run a workload in Google BigQuery, then I will run a workload in Google BigQuery. If from a storage perspective, I want to store all my data on-prem, great. If there's some tools within AWS that I want to bring on, and work in my environment, I can do that as well. So I can move workloads around as I need. Is it all or none? No, it absolutely isn't. And I think this is something that we'll see, evolve as time evolves, where I'm not making a decision to shut down my data center and move to, let's say, AWS I'm going to do everything in AWS. No, there's interconnectivity between all those cloud vendors, and I've used them and they're fast. So we are in a cloud environment. We're going to best utilize it.
And from a CIO perspective, what I would say a cloud strategy is, it is you getting the most agility and efficiency for your organization, providing the most capabilities to your organization, right? I want to thank Tracy for another great episode. If you have feedback regarding the content and materials that you just heard and would like to help us to amplify great thinking to propel healthcare forward, please send us a note at hello@thisweekinhealthit.com. Thanks for listening. That's all for now.